Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Birds. Today, we are bringing some more 5 sell-high targets in NBA fantasy basketball. We are entering the dog days of the NBA year. Catch everybody sleeping. Sell these 5 players before it is too late. Get some value for them, because by fantasy basketball playoff time, these guys will not be doing what they are doing right now. Let's not waste your time. Let's hop into 5 guys I want to be trading in fantasy basketball right now. First guy I want to be trading away is Jonas Valanciunas, the center for the New Orleans Pelicans. As a Pelicans fan, it's going to be hard to put Jonas on this list, but coming into the year, we actually had him on our do not draft list, which is actually looking really good for a long period of time until the Pelicans started seeing some injuries pile up in that front court. Zion Williamson missing time with that strained hamstring. He's already been out for about 3 weeks, and it looks like he's going to miss a little bit more time, which should extend Valanciunas' run in the paint for New Orleans. Brandon Ingram out for 2 months, the second best scorer on this Pelicans team. He comes back from that turf toe injury. Looks a little rusty in his debut, but of course, with an all-star caliber player like Brandon Ingram, we don't expect this to continue. Valanciunas in the last 15 days, actually averaging 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 1 block per game. 1 block shouldn't be that noteworthy for a center in today's NBA, but Valanciunas actually, over the season, only averages half a block per game. One of the worst defensive bigs in the entire league. So him getting his numbers up to 1 a game, pretty significant in those category leagues. But these block, points, and rebounds numbers all up over the last 15 days with the injuries of Ingram and Zion. We don't expect this to continue. The minutes have been ramped up to around 28 minutes per game. Willie Green has had Valanciunas' numbers fluctuate between 21 and 24 minutes when the team is fully healthy. Back in November, when this team was a full go, he was pretty frustrated with the minutes he was seeing. Being such a liability on the defensive side of the ball, Green really had no choice but to cut his minutes down. But with such offensive prominent players like Ingram and Zion missing time, he's had no choice but to put the back-to-the-basket big on the floor more often than not for this Pelicans team. He's become the second go-to guy behind CJ McConnell in this offense with these guys down, which has led to these numbers increasing over the past 21 days. But like we talked about, Brandon Ingram, all-star caliber player, he is already back. Zion Williamson, he should be reevaluated in about 2 weeks, so he's going to be coming back around the All-Star break, if I had to guess. So by the fantasy basketball playoffs, Valanciunas' numbers with a healthy Ingram and Zion, he's going to revert back to that 21 to 24 minutes a night, where he's only seeing 15 and 9 rebounds with half a block. Pretty poor numbers on the defensive side for Valanciunas in category leagues, really hurting you and limiting the upside at that position. So while the numbers have been great, like we talked about, 19, 12, and a block per game over the last 15 days, this is the time to sell Valanciunas. While Ingram is the only guy back, his numbers I expect to digress slightly with Ingram back, but more importantly, Zion Williamson comes back. He's going to be that dominant post-paint player for this Pelicans team, and not Valanciunas, who they've had to turn to in recent weeks with the injuries. So yes, he was on the do not draft list. Yes, he's looked good over the past 3 weeks for this Pelicans team, but we need to be getting rid of him before the All-Star break, especially in preparation for those fantasy basketball playoffs. TJ McConnell, Indiana Pacers, he's been very good the past 4 games. Tyrese Haliburton does go down with a multitude of injuries a couple weeks back. The analysis, not very special here. McConnell with Haliburton, not very good. Without Haliburton, a very good player in fantasy basketball. Over the last 4 games, 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists. Vegas has been putting his assist line at around 10 a game, so they're expecting him to continue putting up double-doubles in this offense without Tyrese Haliburton. But over the course of the season, McConnell's been averaging 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. So the numbers really aren't impressive when Haliburton's on the floor. Been such a special player for this Pacers team this whole year. So to go down with injury the past couple of weeks, been pretty disappointing. But for McConnell, he stepped into that role very nicely in fantasy. Always been a good assist guy in category leagues, but now he's doing it in the points, rebounds, and assist departments for this team. Tyrese Haliburton already back at practice, not participating in contact drills, but non-contact. He is running the drills for the Pacers. Rick Carlisle expects him to be reevaluated next week, so we could see Haliburton's return coming sooner rather than later, which means McConnell revert back to the bench to that second unit point guard, where he should see some decent assist numbers, but the points and rebounds will digress for TJ McConnell. Not only have the scoring stats been up, the defensive numbers, 2.5 steals over the last 4 games. For such a small, crafty guy like McConnell, very impressive on the defensive side, but over the course of the season, only been around 1 steal per game, so he's been over doubling his steal numbers over these 4 games, where he's been on such a hot run for this Indiana team. But not much to say there. Halliburton's going to take that point guard role, and McConnell, his numbers are going to regress. So let's get him off our teams before we get reports of Tyrese Halliburton coming back to the starting lineup. All right, I know this next guy is going to ruffle a bunch of feathers, and I hate putting him on this list. I love watching this guy play, but just the absurd production we've seen from him over the last 6 games is why I have to put Kyle Kuzma at the number 3 slot on our trade away list. Over the past 6 games, Kuzma's looked exactly what the Lakers have been promising he was going to look like when he was in Los Angeles, yet they still trade him away for Russell Westbrook. Just shows what the Lakers front office looks like at this very moment. But Kuzma finally stepping into that promising offensive talent that we've been expecting for the past 2 to 3 years. The last 6 games, nothing short of amazing for Kyle Kuzma. 28.5 points, 9 rebounds, 5 of the last 6 games, he's put a block on the board for the defensive side, while also contributing 4 threes per game in this 6-game stretch, which is double what he was producing over the course of the season. He's been a great player in fantasy all year long, in points leagues, especially when you're not hurt by his field goal percentage, because Kuz does have a tendency to go on some pretty cold streaks from the floor some nights, shooting around 35 to 40% on nights, killing your field goal percentage. But of the majority of games, he's been a very solid player. 22 points, 7.5 boards, and 4 assists. But that's nothing compared to the last 6 games we talked about. 28, 9, and a block per game. Really impressive stuff. I can't expect this to continue for Kuz, who's really taken advantage of the Porzingis injury. Suffered a left ankle sprain, so he should miss around 1 to 2 weeks if I had to guess. Doubtful for tonight's game. In his absence, Kuzma's definitely stepped up over Bradley Beal as the top player on this Wizards offense. I love the man. I love Kyle Kuzma and what he has been over the last 6 games, but I can't expect that to continue going into the fantasy basketball playoffs if this team is going to have a healthy Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis on the floor with him. So as of right now, Kuzma's got to be our number 3 sell high target for the week. All right, last 2 guys on our list, not as predominant names in the NBA as a couple of these other guys, but at number 4, we're going with Mason Plumlee, center for the Charlotte Hornets. Been a pretty solid role player in the NBA for a number of years now, Plumlee has, but over the last 4 games, he's really stepped it up pretty significantly in Charlotte. Averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds for Plumlee with a very high field goal percentage. Always been a great passing big, so his assist numbers are very solid, and we expect that to continue. But the points and rebounds over the stretch of the second half of the season, I gotta expect it to decrease with Mark Williams, the rookie center for the Hornets. His role's been slowly increasing over the past couple of weeks, only around 13 minutes per game, but last couple of weeks we've seen him inch up to around 18 points a game. Still have Nick Richards as a 3rd string big man. He's seen some minutes, but his role has decreased pretty dramatically. But as the Hornets have really nothing to play for with such an injury-riddled season with LaMelo Ball injured consistently this year, I'll expect Mark Williams, the rookie center from Duke, to get some more playing time and take away from Mason Plumlee. Even if Plumlee can hold this role in the offense, I can't expect 20 and 10. Still going to be a sell-high player for us, given the role expectation at the later part of the season and after the All-Star break, with Mark Williams getting a much bigger piece of the pie in this Charlotte front court. So Mason Plumlee is going to be our number 4 sell-high player. All right, to round out our top 5 sell-high players, we have Saddiq Bey coming in at number 5. Streaky shooter for the Detroit Pistons. Down Cade Cunningham, dealing with a multitude of injuries in the front court with Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren pretty recently. But Saddiq Bey's been on fire lately. 22.5 points over the last 6 games. Even getting 9 rebounds from the small forward position. Pretty incredible stuff for Bey. But over these last 6 games, he's shooting 20 of 39 on his 3-point attempts. That's over 50%. That's not going to continue for Bey. He is a very good 3-point shooter, but 50% and above, that's not going to happen the rest of the season. That would be top marks in the league today. Saddiq Bey, while a great shooter, not the greatest shooter of all time. Up until this point in the year, he's averaging around 15 points, 5 rebounds, and only 2 threes made with 40% field goal percentage, so pretty low. So hurting you at the field goal percentage. So getting this spike in the 3-point production, really carrying Saddiq's value over the past couple of weeks. We can't expect a 7-point jump in his points per game average over the last 7 games to be a predictive factor going forward the rest of the way. So let's sell Saddiq Bey while we can trade him for that 3-point value and that high 3-point percentage that he's been giving us, because it's not going to continue for very long. Still a great shooter and a role player for that Pistons team, but not someone we want to be consistently relying on in fantasy basketball. So I have no problem trading away Saddiq Bey in a package deal, especially if you want to trade him with some of these other guys potentially and get a more long-term consistent player for you in the fantasy basketball playoffs. That's going to wrap it up here. Those are our 5 players that we love selling at this point in the regular season, heading into the All-Star break in a couple of weeks into the fantasy basketball playoffs. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of these 5 guys, or if there's any other questions you have, drop them in the comment section. I will for sure get to all of them. But Jonas Valanciunas, TJ McConnell, Kyle Kuzma, unfortunately, love the guy, Mason Plumlee, and Saddiq Bey are our 5 sell-high players as of right now in fantasy basketball. We thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week with another episode of the Fantasy Birds.